Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of Prototype by Radical Entertainment. With the warmly received Incredible Hulk under its belt, it seemed that Radical Entertainment would have no problem bringing a story about a nigh unstoppable superhuman to fruition. The developer was able to draw from its prior experiences and created a game where destruction was as simple as breathing. But games are about more than ultimate power in the face of adversity. In light of this, was Prototype able to surpass superhero titles of the past? Keep watching to find out. When Prototype begins, you find yourself in the middle of the story. Your character is unafraid, showing in broad daylight before soldiers out for blood. But when powers like those you are endowed with are present, why would you display fear? Armies tremble at your might, and even tanks and helicopters offer little in the way of control. It seems that nothing can possibly topple you. Flashback to 18 days prior. You begin the tale of Alex Mercer, a genetically altered being with no recollection of his past, except for what memories he can absorb from others. The game takes place in New York City, but it may as well have taken place anywhere, as it's difficult to realize the sandbox as the Big Apple. As you proceed through Prototype, Alex learns more of the motives of his oppressors, setting the stage for the hectic conflict you find in the game's opening sequence. The scenes between chunks of action are paced too quickly, though. Characters are not developed thoroughly, and some barely at all, but the game moves so quickly you may not even notice.
I can't believe what I just did.
Prototype's pacing is a little overdone. Everything about the game is played out in small portions, and it feels as though the developer rushed to get the product done, in time to compete with similar products. The actual mechanics of the game are fairly simple, but fun nonetheless, though the game does make you feel a bit godly at some points. You can tell that this decision was made intentionally, but at the same time it detracts from any semblance of challenge. Instead, it feels like your ultimate enemy is yourself, thanks to some poorly planned design choices for the control scheme. The game is designed as a hack-and-slash title, but Radical Entertainment overloaded Prototype so full of content that much of it ended up in the title without any direction. Certain combinations are so closely mapped out to the others that you'll often find yourself performing the wrong attacks. The missions too feel overly redundant, and leave you feeling significantly less than super. The buildings and cars of Radical Entertainment's take on New York City are bland and boring. With the exception of the characters' models, everything seems uninspired. Supposedly the city is based on the Big Apple, but you wouldn't be able to tell if the game didn't specifically tell you. The textures just don't do the real thing justice. Prototype's so-called parkour element was probably responsible for the lack of development of the styles of the buildings, since more often than not, you just run straight up the side of the skyscrapers. The music is nothing memorable either, and probably rightly so. You're better off not remembering anything. The other sounds can be hit or miss though. The in-game dialogue is slightly immersive and lends to the game well. The same can be said about the sound effects during hectic moments of combat. The cutscene dialogue, however, seems like it was written solely for shock effect. The characters use out-of-place foul language which normally wouldn't deter, except for the excessive amount it is used. It ends up making you feel like they tried to use the F-word to exonerate the otherwise shrug-worthy speech. With a host of side missions that you can tackle in a variety of different ways, you can stretch the game on for a long while. None of the missions seem catered to any of your powers though, making them seem almost unimportant. When you include the option after you beat the game to play it again with all your unlocked powers though, you open up an almost brand new way to play. That can make you feel all too powerful, however, leading you almost to instant boredom. Radical Entertainment had a great concept of a Prototype. Unfortunately, the title ends up feeling rushed in places and never becomes the next evolution of the superhero video game. Though the game does have its stronger points, the powerful abilities taking center stage, it never seems to find a steady, comfortable pace. With a fast-moving plot, gameplay, and dialogue, even the awesome superpowers aren't incredible enough to place Prototype above its competition. Despite the acceptable length of the title, the game never truly feels complete. That's Entertainment awards Prototype a score of 6.5 out of 10.